can we make reverb with light?
Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea. I hope you're all doing well today. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at a new pedal from Game Changer Audio. If you've not heard of Game Changer before, I suggest you take a look just because they are doing things in a really cool way for the guitar gear industry. The pedals they've come out with so far have definitely turned heads, and I think they're awesome. I actually have one of their pedals on my board now for my Tosca main gigging board. I absolutely love it. It's the Plasma Coil, the Third Man Plasma Coil that they did with Jack White and the guys from Third Man Records. The Plasma Coil was this amazing gas-filled xenon tube plasma distortion pedal thing that's just, it creates the most amazing fuzzy distortion tones and really, you know, like weird sounding and cool. Not your run-of-the-mill overdrive fuzz kind of sounds. But then they did the Third Man version, which had like an octave fuzz in it, which I think is sick. So I use that all the time, and the artwork's insane. Basically, Game Changer take things that you would not in a million years imagine would work for guitar tone, but they somehow do it, and that's what they build their entire ethos on. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Game Changer Audio Light Pedal Optical Spring Reverb System. Just to let you guys know before we get into this, Game Changer Audio sent me this pedal. I'm not being paid for this review or anything like that. They just sent me this pedal to check it out with a couple of other bits, and I thought it'd be really cool to check it out together, show you what it sounds like, play some tunes through it, give you my opinions at the end, which are obviously my opinion, take from it what you will, but just so you know, this is like every other gear video that I do, so let's just crack on and check it out. So you may be asking, optical, light, you know, these two words and spring reverb, it's kind of weird, but much like their other pedals, just go with me for now. Essentially, what we've got going on here is a spring reverb pedal. Inside the pedal are springs, of course, to make it a spring reverb, but what's really amazing is the whole pedal functions off optical light sensors. So the way, you know, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't really know how it works other than it's a spring reverb that uses light to sense the springs and create the reverb trails maybe. And the cool thing with it being light is you can do a lot of different things with functionality, because I'm assuming it's LED, which means you can control LED in many more ways than you could necessarily just a standard light, if that makes sense. So there's loads of weird settings in here that definitely make the most and take advantage of the fact that it is an optical light pedal. So in this video, I'm going to be using my Fender Strat into my Super Kraken on a crunch. The light pedal is currently running in the loop. I prefer to use all my reverbs in the loop because I like crunch and overdrive and that kind of thing. But let me just run over the pedal really fast in terms of the parameters, of course. In the center here is where our springs are, and it'll light up when I play. As you can see, when you turn it on and off, you get a nice little red light, which also, the red light indicates your dry signal, which is cool. But anyway, we've got a toggle switch on the top for trails, which is nice. So when you disengage the pedal, you can either choose to have the reverb cut out completely or carry on going. And then on the right hand side, we've got latch on and off. So you can either run this pedal latching like any normal stomp box, or it can be momentary. So it's only when you press down that the effect is engaged. So that's that. There's a little three-way dip switch on the back for obviously when you're playing gigs, and anyone that has a spring reverb tank will know that a lot of reverb vibration causes the springs to rattle about. And when you've ever banged an old Marshall, an old Fender amp, and you hear it go or whatever it is, that's the sound of the springs in the tank. So they've incorporated this sort of like, I don't even know what it is, like a shock absorbing kind of switch on the back, which compensates for extra vibrations happening, so you won't get random reverb boings and stuff like that happening halfway through a gig. In terms of controls, you've got your dry signal here, which again is indicated by the red LED. Then you've got your spring optical signal, and then your optical signal. So what I'd noticed when I was messing about this before is spring is more of the high end, and it feels like optical is more of the low end. Now there's more of a scientific term for this, but I feel like I get the clarity and articulation of the spring reverb from the spring, and then I get the kind of the warmth and body from the optical. And then after the fact, you have a tone control, which allows you to affect the tone of both, well, of all the signal together. So on the right hand side of the pedal is where all the weird cool stuff happens. We've got the mode selector here. That goes through all the different modes that you can use the light pedal with. Control, which affects different parameters within what mode you're in. So let's say you're in Trem Mode. Control will affect the speed of that. Then we've got drive, which is the drive sent to the reverb signal, and then gate, which is really handy. Anywhere above 12 o'clock acts as a ducker, so the reverb will duck out as you play. And then anywhere before noon essentially acts as a gate for the reverb. In other words, it's like a decay. So the lower you take it, the less decay that reverb has. So it's a really nice, well thought out control. I'm going to get the instruction pamphlet now just to talk through the type, the mode knob, because I don't want to get it wrong, because it does lots of cool stuff. But first we have optics, which essentially let you choose a specific combination of optical sensors. In other words, you can just go ahead and dial in the reverb tone that you like. The cool thing is here that the control knob allows you to change different parts of the optical sensor, so you can move it around. It's really quite interesting. Just to give you a quick example. So there you can see the reverb, it lights up. So, because we're in optical mode, you can see it's moving around to all these different sensors. But anyway, I will get into more of the actual effects of the sound afterwards. I was just trying to show you that. That's quite cool. Anyway, next up we have sweep. Sweep is a modulation mode that rhythmically scrolls back and forth through the different optical sensor parts, essentially giving you what would sound like a cool modulation, because each sensor has a different character to it. Some are midier, some are darker, some are lighter, all that kind of stuff. The control knob adjusts the rate of the sweep. But also you can use the control knob while holding down the pedal's foot switch to adjust the sweep modulation curves, so you can get some really weird cool sounds. Next up we have Trem. It's an optical tremolo mode that turns the optical sensors on and off rhythmically. It's basically a tremolo system. Pretty cool. The control knob adjusts the rate, but the control knob and the foot switch calibrate the optical sensor parts. And there are a load of different types of trem you can use. So the tremolo effect can also apply to the spring tank output if the spring output 1 level is set equal or higher to output of the optical output. So essentially it allows you to change between like a spring trem, optical trem, or both, so to speak. Next up we have reflect. This mode is a lo-fi delay which will send the instrument signal back into the reverb tank several times, essentially giving you a delay. So that is a very cool little feature to have in there. Now the control knob affects the rate, but the control knob and foot switch calibrate the optical sensor parts once again. In case it's starting to sound weird, you want to reset things or recalibrate. Feedback mode sets the spring tank into self-oscillation, which lets you to create various drones and wall of sound type distorted reverb pads. Lots of potential uses when paired with an expression pedal or in momentary mode. So you could play a chord, hit momentary mode on, or use an expression and blend that in. The control knob will adjust the feedback frequency, and the control knob and foot switch again calibrates the sensors. Then we have a harmonic mode. In harmonic mode, the spring tank is driven by special circuit design to produce a lot of overtones and harmonics. Think of it as a shimmer effect, but only produced naturally when the spring tank, within the spring tank. And that would be all the different modes. There are 6 modes on this thing. I've talked enough. Let's just get into it and see what it sounds like. Okay, so I'm using the 55 Custom Shop into the VX100 on a crunch, and this is what we've got. So that's how it sounds. So I've dialed in what I consider to be close to your traditional kind of spring reverb sound. Let's back off a bit of tone. Back the gate down. So it's nice. It's a spring reverb, but it's a nice. Now it's getting a bit more weird because I'm taking the gate up back to halfway. So yeah, you can hear it going on and on and on. So now's a good chance to show you the difference in the optical signals. So We can take the dry signal out completely. We can even go back to halfway, which is the same as it being. There's a tiny little jump in output there when you're turning it on and off. But then if you boost above halfway, you've got a little more headroom going into, that's going into the effects loop. So that would normally probably add more distortion if you're pushing in the front. Anyway, so the spring. You can hear how it's kind of MIDI, top, mid, high mid. So it's quite intense, but when you throw the optical up, it becomes more low and warm. See what I mean? More optical. And then more spring. So it's nice having that blend, you see? You can dial in exactly how you want it, and then on top of all that, you got tone. So anyway, and just to show you, if I take out all the optical signal, you'll just be able to see the dry signal. So you almost want to treat the left-hand side of the pedal as, how do I want my spring reverb to sound? You know, I might have a bit more of this. Something like this. It's cool. So let's mess around with the different modes. Let's move into sweep. Whoa. Okay, so control off. When you want to try out different elements of the different modes, so for example tremolo mode, and we were talking about holding down the foot switch and changing the control knob, it calibrates which optical sensor you want to use. As you can see, I can select what part of the optical sensor stuff I want to use to utilize the tremolo effect, and same on for the other ones that require this particular feature. So it's really cool. I mean, it's a reverb pedal, but I'm messing around with it like it's a tremolo, which is very cool. Right, if I move on to reflect. Right, so reflect is like its lo-fi delay we were talking about, so cool. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool, considering it's not. It doesn't really feel like a spring reverb now. That's particularly really enjoying that one. It's like got a lot of depth and life to it. From the it's kind of like a long decay, reverby delay thing, and it's got spring elements to it. So it's quite like mid-rangey, but there's something really beautiful about the way it washes over. Moving on, let's go on to feedback. So let's see how this works. But again, we can change which sensor I use using the control and foot switch. That's ridiculous. That's like keys playing with you with the chords, and it's almost as if you have to find which bit of the feedback is harmonically working with what you're playing, because when you're changing it, I noticed I could hear some discordancy, but that in itself is really cool. Now what I would do there is I would keep that setting as it is, not use it as a reverb pedal at that point, and then I would add a reverb to it to really make it sound like a big wall. That would be cool. Okay, so I've just added a Capital Chambers reverb plugin in there on top of this so that we can see if it works. Okay, and then we're on to harmonics. So I like the fact that you can choose what light sensors you want. So all the way down, you can see it scrolls through them. And you can do like all buttons in on an 1176 and have them all in. That's cool. Okay, let's just dial it in. So after messing around, you can sort of get the shimmer effect as well if you want. For me, my favorite modes on this pedal are definitely that one, the feedback one. I like reflection or reflect because of course it's a delay. And it's a great spring reverb, just as a spring reverb. I think it's a great sounding spring reverb pedal if you just wanted a spring reverb, although it does way more than that, so of course you wouldn't buy this if you just wanted a spring reverb. But let me show you what the gate does. So the idea being here that you could go for something quite extreme, and the effect hits afterwards. Wonder what happens if you took the dry signal out. Again, you could use it for a weird layer. But then the other way being that the gate, when you pull it back counterclockwise, which is nice. Again, if you have it all the way down, it just acts on. So it's nice, like a decay. So let me show you this stage shock absorbing thing real quick. This is the pedal off, but if I bang it, alright, okay. You get the idea. If I turn the shock absorbing on, see what I mean? It acts like it's got its own internal gate that when it gets a shock, it ducks everything out. That's very cool. Okay then, well there is a quick look at the Game Changer Audio light pedal. So it's worth me saying before I get into what I think of this pedal that I'm not a massive fan of spring reverbs. I'm not really a traditionalist, like I just don't, I prefer Hall, I prefer plates, I prefer ambient sounding reverbs, long decays. Spring for me, you know, other than being the traditional thing, just I could take it or leave it, and that's just my personal opinion about any spring reverb. It could be the best spring reverb tank in all existence. I would still be like, it's all right. So when I found out that the light pedal was a spring reverb, I was like, oh, okay. Wonder if I'll get into that. What I think is really cool, and I'm going to say this now, is that they've taken it so far away from spring reverb but you can still get a good sounding spring reverb. That for me, I'm happy about that. I'm happy that it isn't just a spring reverb that's powered by optical sensors. Needless to say, the technology in it is insane. The fact that they do this with their technology, for me, is so cool. It's like someone sits there and goes, can we make reverb with light? Or can we make distortion with plasma? You know what I mean? Someone had to sit there and dream of that, and that's very cool. And it's so amazing when you see things like this actually come to fruition, and I can sit here in my studio at home and try it out. That's very cool. Game Changer are wicked. I have nothing bad to say about that company. I think they do a great job of their pedals and the concepts behind their pedals. You know, you could call it a gimmick if you wanted to. There is an element of that, I suppose, but the basic gist with these kind of pedals are, can you find an application for it in what you do with music? If yes, I reckon you should check it out. If it's just a lot of extra features inside a reverb pedal that you don't really feel is your kind of thing, then fair enough. But either way, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I will link the light pedal in the description box. But as always, thank you for watching this video. Thank you Game Changer Audio for sending it over. Like, subscribe and share. I've been Rabea and I will see you all very soon.